Hi, Coach Michelle.
Hi, Dr. Rashmi.
So good to be here. Thank you for spending this time with me today.
Thank you as well. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah. So I thought I know we're going to have this really fun conversation today, kind of based on our own strengths and how and what work we do. So I thought I would just get us started and tell you a little bit about myself, the work that I do, why I do it, and then we'll touch on mindfulness and meditation, if that's okay.
Sounds good.
Okay, so my name is Dr. Rashmi Schramm, and I am a family practice doctor. I've been practicing for a little over 20 years, and I'm also an integrative health coach. And one of the things that I incorporate into my coaching program is meditation, mindfulness, Ayurveda lifestyle. And in fact, meditation is a big portion of some of the coaching that I do. And so I wanted to really focus on that today. My story with meditation is not one that was like easy and just, effortless and I just did it. For years had just been really interested in it and had touched on it from time to time, particularly like in college. I had really enjoyed a couple of different kinds of meditation with a few groups. And I found that to be really helpful for stress release, for example. And then I would just let it go. And so for even a little while there, I was like a closet meditator. I was like worried to tell anybody that I meditated because there were all these connotations, all these things that go with it. And so I kind of stopped and started. And what I began to notice about myself was as I really didn't stick with meditation, I felt like my life was just kind of careening out of control, not in a very physical sense, because I didn't quit my job. I didn't, like run away from my family or anything like that. But mentally, I just felt really stressed and overwhelmed all the time. And when I started to do more of my meditative practice, just even a few minutes a day, I started to notice a lot of just my stress being released and just feeling more calm. And so I want to tell you like some of the myths that I tend to hear and some of the reasons that as I want to teach. So over the years, as I really committed to my meditation, I had an almost full-on transformation, I would tell you, just, mind, body, spirit, in that I just began to feel like I was thriving. I was more productive at work. I slept better. I was struggling with a few health issues. I was having a lot of migraines. I was able to really overcome that. I was really struggling with insomnia. I was able to overcome that. So I really felt like it was a huge benefit for me. And so when I went back and learned how to teach meditation and became a certified teacher, and here I am teaching, I hear some of the same things that I used to say about meditation. I thought we could just, like go through those, what I call myths, and then we can bust those. And I'd love to talk to you about that as well. So one of the first myths that I tend to hear, right? One of the first things that I tend to hear is there's no way I can control my mind. You're right. The answer to that is you're right. You can't control your mind, but meditation is not a way to control your mind. It's really a way to recognize that you are not your thoughts and to just gently let those thoughts go. So really, we're not trying to control the mind. We're trying to learn how to choose the thoughts that are most nourishing for us. And that's something that meditation helps with. So I think that's helpful to kind of get that perspective. The second thing I usually hear is, what, I tried it once. It was crazy hard. I'm not going to do it again. And true, same, I used to say the same things. And so I kind of remind them, the more times we do something, the better at it we get, if there is such a thing as getting better at meditation. And so it's just a matter of gently coming back to it and just giving it a try, just 5 minutes a day, and seeing if they, can get a little bit better, because you wouldn't try to run a marathon for the first time without training for it, right? So same thing. So this is the second one. And the third thing I hear is just, I don't have time. I just don't have time. I'm so busy. And what's really interesting is and this is what I found for myself, and people will come back and tell me this as well, is even making a little bit of time and space for meditation can actually give you back more time. And what I mean by that is we spend a lot of time stressing and ruminating and worrying. And imagine how much time you would have if you really didn't have as much stressing and ruminating and worrying. You would just literally just be action after action, right? And so that's something that meditation can help you just kind of really let go of some of the unnecessary turmoil, mental turmoil, and move forward from there.
Wow, there's so many parallels to running here. As you were talking, I was like ticking the boxes in my head. That's great. So I'm a pediatrician and a runner and a run coach. And when I started running, I have to tell you, like, I had a lot of these same things come up for me with running, but I don't. I've had trouble as far as establishing like a consistent meditation routine. When I started running, I used to run with headphones and music or an audiobook or podcast or something. And there are these studies that show that your perceived effort while you're running that it's easier if you run with music. And I would say that's true. But over the last couple of years, I have definitely gotten into a habit. I mean, I try to tell my athletes to ditch the headphones because you can really get more in touch with yourself and your paces and like really feel how the pace feels to your body and just kind of being in tune with the elements, really like feel the sun on your face and the wind in your hair or the sound of your footfalls on the dirt, like all of that. And so I've kind of viewed that as a little bit of a meditative experience for me. But that I think has really, I haven't established like a consistent meditation routine outside of that for all of the reasons that you mentioned, like time, that I think I can't sit still long enough to do that, that I don't really want to stare at a candle, and that I know that my mind is going to wander. And so then I have this feeling like, well, if that's not really the purpose, why am I going to do it in the first place? So I think this is it comes up for a lot of people.
For sure. And it came up for me too. And I still, and I hear it as well, for sure. So I'll address the first one. I think the first one was really, I agree with you. You running mindfully is definitely a mindfulness practice. And that is a phenomenal way for you to be just in touch with your own self. And that is such a great aspiration that really touches on really everything that you and I have been talking about so far. So it does definitely count as a mindful exercise. So when we look at meditation, it's just one way to practice mindfulness, right? So mindfulness is exactly what you said, which is, paying attention to the present moment with curiosity and without judgment. Right? That's what you're really doing when you're noticing the hair, kind of blowing, in the wind, when you're noticing the sun, when you're noticing how your right knee feels or how your left foot feels. You're just noticing without judging. You're just paying attention to the present moment. And that counts. That is money in the bank for you. So the thing with meditation, we look at these studies, and this is a millennia old practice, as is running, of course, and it's stuck because there's good reasons for it. And some of the things that we're discovering now, and there are now tens of thousands of published studies, is it really helps us go into that rest and restore parasympathetic response. And what that can look like is a whole host of things, but it really promotes a lot of self-healing. And that can translate into several things. If somebody's battling hypertension, that can mean better control of their high blood pressure. Anxiety, that can mean less cortisol and less adrenaline. And that can also mean better digestion, better immunity. There are so many, other benefits that we can get just from even a short meditation practice. And so when you look at, do you really need to stare at a candle? No, you definitely don't. I understand that some people can meditate that way. And really what that's doing is it's giving our mind something to do, right? Because we all have these monkey minds. Yeah. And depending on, who you talk to or ask, there's somewhere between 60,000 and 80,000 thoughts that we're producing every day. So that's like a thought every 1.2 seconds, right? And we can't control those. We're not going to suppress those.
Mhm.
And so that practice where the magic sauce comes in is when you notice that there's a thought and you come back to the thing that you were focusing on, right? So the simplest of meditations is just focusing on your breath. And it just gives you a point to just come back to ground yourself. And what I teach is a mantra-based meditation. And mantra just means mind vehicle. So it gives our monkey mind something to do. And so each time you see that you're, in a thought, that's okay. That's stress being released. That's just your brain doing what it's supposed to do. The magic sauce is when you bring your attention back to whether it's your breath or the mantra or the candle.
Mhm. Mhm.
And so just kind of noticing that and letting any judgment about that go, that's really where you start to see the real easy benefits start to rack up for yourself, if that makes sense for you.
Yeah. Yeah. I use mantras in running all the time also. So
Yeah.
there are
Yeah.
so many parallels here. I really, yeah. Yeah. I think, and also getting people started, like you said, you only have to do 5 minutes. This is how really I get people started to run as well. And people say, like, oh, how could 5 minutes make a difference? But it really does add up over time. And basically just a place to start, right? You have to start somewhere. So so I need to take my own advice and just translate it over to meditation, I think.
No, same for me with running. When you hear my reasons for not running, you're basically going to tell me some of the same things as well. It makes so much sense. I totally am seeing all of the parallels that you're talking about as well, for
Yeah.
sure. I've had students and clients that I've had to just start at 2 minutes a day, and now they're meditating
Same.
20 to 30 minutes a day.
Yeah. Yeah. It's amazing. Yeah. I
Yeah.
think, I mean, the myths that come up for, or well, barriers, let's say, barriers to running. Time is always a big one. Like, I don't have time to run. Um, that it's too hard. And I think a lot of people base that on their prior experience with it. Maybe they had a bad experience in grade school growing up trying to run the mile, or they were in, maybe another sport and where running was used as punishment. Like, that comes up a lot of times. Like, oh, in soccer, you didn't make the goal, the whole team has to go and run. And so there's a lot of associations sometimes that we have to just kind of work through and break to get back with the sport. So that is too hard. And then also that there's like a lack of motivation. Like, I just don't have the motivation to get out there and do it. And so again, like all of the things that you said, really we can use in running as well. But finding the time is all about really realistically looking at your schedule sometimes and just figuring out where we could fit it in. A lot of people come to me with saying that they walk very regularly, like they're regular walkers, but they have hesitation to, transition and start running. Maybe they're afraid of injury or just that they think it will be too hard. So I do the same thing that you do. We start with 5 minutes and sometimes 2 minutes. Like, we put in intervals of running that are just really short within a rest of the walk workout and start from there. So we kind of work with where we're at. We come at it and just appreciate where we are with our current fitness, wherever that is, and just start small. So that's how we get into that. And as far as motivation, I usually have people, we didn't talk about journaling at all, but I usually have people try to sit down and figure out why they want to, get involved with fitness or get involved with running. What is their why? And really delving into their motivation, because that's how we create it. So those are the three common things that I hear, but you can tell me yours as well and we can work through them.
You kind of hit the nail on the head for sure on that, because I found myself in exactly some of the things that you were saying. So for me personally, you're absolutely right. I can't believe I hadn't thought about this, but eons ago, I used to play tennis, and running was used as a punishment for sure, if we didn't meet certain criteria. And so I really started to, now that I'm thinking about it, I really haven't run much since probably college, but I've stayed fit for sure. And so like my kind of like reasons for not running are multifold. I'll tell them to you. And they're all going to fall into some of the categories that you talked about, right?
Mhm.
I really used to enjoy running. And I have these two teenage daughters. They're 14 and 16. They're gifted runners. They are like way faster than I can ever be. And so like several years ago, I just like stopped running, and or even stopped trying to run, because we would do some 5Ks together, and there was no way I could keep up with like my 8-year-old. I mean, I see now why, because they're gifted runners, like, at the end, they were already faster than me at age 8. And so I just started to be like, nope, I'm going to walk and you guys can do your run. And I still can be outside. But a lot of times I don't feel like I'm getting the workout that I need. So then, I'll go for this walk, and then I'll come back and I'll do a Peloton for, 20 or 30 minutes. So like for me, I've gotten into this habit of just like really wanting to run, but not running, and still like popping right back on my Peloton, which I know, I enjoy. It's such a predictable workout I get.
Mm-hmm.
And it tells me everything. And like with running, I'm like, I don't know, I feel really tired, but I don't think I went far.
Yeah.
So those are like the bulk of my reasons. And I'm 46. I'm like, am I going to injure myself? So those are, so have this negative it's basically the stuff that you said.
Yeah. I think, well, we'll start with the age. I think you can start at any age, or you can pick it up again at any age. But like you said, I think a lot of times it is based on past experiences with it. So I could just give you an example. Most of my athletes are in their 30s and 40s, I would say, but I have some people in their 50s and 60s. And my mom ran her first half marathon in her late 60s. So she did run walk, like we did a lot of run walk intervals to train for that. But and then last year, she, before the pandemic, just before the pandemic, we ran a 10K, and she got a personal record in that one. She PR'd the 10K. So, and that was in her early 70s. So it's never too late,
Yeah.
but there's
Wow.
definitely a way to go about it so that you don't injure yourself. And it's just important to kind of know where you are with your body at the time, and if you have past injuries and things like that. So it's important, whether you work with me or you work with another running coach. Most coaches will take like a history. I mean, it's kind of like taking a medical history, but take a running history and kind of figure out if there are any problem areas or areas that we should pay attention to as you begin the training. But it's easier for me to say, don't let it stop you from getting started. But it's about worrying about things that might not happen, right? And starting where we're at and just going slow and being patient with the process. That's probably a big one. And then with your girls, I was thinking about this while you were talking. So it's hard if you wanted to, let's say, go out and run with them on the weekend, like kind of make it a family activity. No. Okay. So for those people who are trying, I tried to do this with my husband, who is a much faster runner than I am. And so this would be frustrating. You can picture it. Like he's trying to go fast and slow down for me. I'm trying to speed up and it's too hard for me. And then we both get frustrated. So we started to do, if we were going for a long run together, we start at the same time and come back at the same time, but he just covers more distance. And then we have,
I like that.
have breakfast like at home at the end. So you can
brilliant.
Get off
Yes.
at the same time, get back at the same time. And if the girls wouldn't mind if they ran like up and back, like out and back, so then you could see each other. They're just covering more ground.
Yeah. Oh, that's a great idea. I don't know why I haven't thought about that. That's great.
So you can still run, separately but together. But the other thing I think you were saying is just you can keep it, keep your workouts separate if they're not into that or they don't want to double back so much. You can make it your own thing, and that's fine. And it doesn't matter your speed. I'm trying to, bust some myths there too, that you don't have to be fast in order to run. You can jog at a nice slow pace and still get a great workout. And to the point, like with the long run, if I'm covering 6 miles, but my husband can cover 10 miles in the same amount of time, we're still out there for the same amount of time. So that effort is still, that's a great workout for me. It's a great workout for him. So we have to just try to lose the numbers a little bit and lose the math, but do what's best for our bodies. But that's one way you could maybe broach that with them and see what they think.
Oh yeah, I think they would do that for sure. I think that is absolutely brilliant. Um, I don't know why I haven't thought about that. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. It took us a while to get to that because we were trying so hard and then getting frustrated. Like, how about we just, yeah, we'll start on the same trail. And even now with the cold weather, sometimes we'll go out in the morning, but my husband will just double back a few times. Like he'll go ahead and then when I'm out of sight, he'll come back. So we're still kind of out there together.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, yeah. And you can get on the same trail and
Yep.
still, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Um,
That's fantastic.
One thing I wanted to ask you, um, benefits of meditation for runners specifically, like I can see already how it would help with sleep and recovery, like rest and recovery. And I like to say that rest is just as important as training, but it's very hard for us living busy lives and working and fitting in this training and all of that. And so I can see real benefit, but if you could elaborate just a little bit for the runners
Yeah,
out there.
yeah, absolutely right. So you bring up such a great point, which is that, we can't just be super healthy just by running and like forgetting about the rest of our health or just meditating and forgetting about the rest of it. And so it's really about that balance between rest and activity. They're both equally important, just like you said, and recovery is just as important as the activity itself. Same for, whole health. So we look at nutrition, we look at, how are your relationships? How is, are you looking at personal growth, professional growth? We kind of approach whole health in that larger picture, and sleep is in there for sure. And specifically for runners, runners tend to be real, type A, right? And so
Yes.
in Ayurveda, that's the Pitta type. And Pitta is like a combination of fire and water, so just really hot and doers. And I actually am a Pitta as well. I'm a recovering Pitta, and
Okay.
so. Not that I can't be one. I am still one the rest of my life, but what it really means is we can overdo things. Like you can overdo things, and so one of the ways you can maintain more balance, whether it's mental, physical, spiritual, can be to have a congruent mindfulness or meditation practice along with a running practice. And I would say the same thing for my clients. We talk about exercise, we talk about running, and I do think I think they're really synergistic with each other.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that sounds great. Yeah. You described my personality type very well.
Well, pretty much every doctor is, by the way, so I don't even need to do their dosha types most of the time.
Okay.
Not every, but there's a you can't get through med school and residency without a good dose of pitta in there. So
Yeah. I think, yeah, a lot of this is that it has served us well up until a certain point, but now it's almost like I have to unlearn a lot of the things that have just the way that my brain has gotten wired over the last 10 or 20 years. And I have to, like you said, you're recovering. Maybe I am as well. I just didn't think of it in those terms, but yeah, I have to take note to pause and slow down.
yeah, absolutely. And it's really hard to do initially, but once, it's just like everything else. Once those neural connections are formed, they just get stronger and stronger, and it just feels more natural that way.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, this was great. But tell us where we can find you.
Yeah, I'd love to keep in touch with folks. You can go to my website, which is optimalwellnessmd.org. You'll find several blogs on meditation and just whole health there. You also find a free checklist. So if you go over into the blogs, you will be connected to one of my YouTube videos where I teach a couple of things that are fun to learn. There's one that's just an easy guided meditation. I'd love for you to give it a try. It's about 6 minutes long. And the other one is just an easy breath work exercise too. So I'd love to have you take a look at those.
Oh, that sounds great. And if you would like, I wrote a blog post on a body scan and how to do a body scan while you're running, which sort of works into this mindfulness meditation topic. So I will leave that link below in the notes, and you can find the blog at my website, mindful-marathon.com. And if you're starting with running or starting to get back into the sport, and you're not sure how to go about it, there is a free training plan that you can download right from the website. So check that out.
That sounds exciting. Thank you so much for having me, Dr. Michelle.
Oh, yeah. Thanks for being here. And thanks for having this awesome conversation.
Yeah.
And thanks everybody for listening.
Thank you.